Hey folks, Jonathan here. Back messing with this truck a little bit. I wanted to pull the drag links and the stern stabilizers and stuff off, but I just wanted to show everybody a little trick, and a lot of you know this, I'm sure. But for some of the younger ones that may not, I wanted to go ahead and do it. As you can see, what I want to do is remove this tie rod end out of the spindle, and you know, we could use a pickle fork for it, but of course we're going to ruin our boot. And so there's an easy way to knock these out. This is actually tapered, and the tighter you tighten it, the harder it pulls up in. But the best way to get these out is if you take a hammer and you hit it, what it does is actually shocks it and shrinks it enough to pop that down. So we're going to try to do that now, and we'll see how it works out. What you want to do is, you don't want to hit your threads at all, but you want to hit it right there on the spindle part. As you can see, it popped it right out. And you don't ever want to hit down on your threads. 2 hits. And that's how you do it. And that way you don't damage your threads, you don't damage your rubber boot. You can reuse. So anyway, just a quick tip. Alright, let's get back at it. Okay folks, I was just sitting here and I was looking at this one and I was looking at the other one, and just you know, because I know one's a Dana 44 and one's a 10 bolt, but I was wanting to see some of the differences. And if you notice the caliper bracket here, and then it goes to sheet metal here. This one, caliper bracket, steel all the way around, good and heavy. Hopefully I can keep these backing plates on here. I'm hoping anyway. And I know this looks rusty, but you know, it looks rusty because it hadn't been on the road in a lot of years. But like I said, this thing was owned by the same man from the time it was bought until we got it, and it hadn't been beat on whatsoever. Now, like I said before, he drove it to the beach, and you know, when you get down to the coast, that salt water really gets to the stuff, so that's why you see the rust on it. But mechanically, you know, it's a whole lot better shape than what that other one is. Okay folks, I've got this other front end tore down and cleaned up, and it's close to enough ready to go back in as I'm going to do. So now I've got this one slid back out from under a little ways. We're going to try to get it in there and get it mounted. I want to talk a little bit about the caster on this. You know, you always assume that when somebody does a job, you know, your caster, of course, is the angle of your front end, the center of your, what would be like a kingpin or the ball joints on this particular one. Anyway, but like a motorcycle, if it's sticking out like that, then you've got positive caster, and if it's sticking backwards, you've got negative caster. These trucks are somewhere between 7 and 9 degrees of positive caster, depending on where you look. Now, there's a lot of people out there that's running as low as 4 degrees positive caster with big tires and not having any issues. So you want to get it as close to, you know, back to the 7 or 8 as you can. But you know, here's what you try to assume. You try to assume that when somebody does something like this and changes the springs and stuff, that they actually put the caster back by drive shaft angle, you know, by your pinion angle. You know, if you're running a particular pinion angle when you raise it up, if you're running the same pinion angle when you're done, then your caster should be the same. And I kind of doubt that's what they've done here. But you assume that they're running the right caster, but assuming anything on this truck is probably not a smart thing. But so, you know, I was just figuring that with the aftermarket springs and these, you know, they added back in to get the drive shaft angle or the pinion angle back to where it should be, and you know, I shouldn't assume that. So what we need to do, we're going to go ahead and get this front end in. I'm going to put it in without these, and the reason I'm going to do that is there's no way to check the caster on this without the weight on it sitting on the ground. As you can see, the springs are there's no weight on them. and you know, you need to get it level. I mean, it really needs to be done by a front end shop, but we can work with it, and you know, at least get our pinion angle right, and that's going to put our caster angle close. And you know, when you load the back of a truck, or you raise the back of a truck, or lower the back of the truck, you're changing your caster on your front end. So, you know, you're it's going to vary. And so what we're going to do, I think we'll put it in without the plates. It won't, you know, won't be a problem to loosen it up and change some things if we need to change them. But I don't think. I'm guessing, you know, you'd have to assume that they put them back in to get the pinion angle back right, but they may have just put them in to get the pinion angle up more, just so it could go toward the drive shaft, and that's going to give you a negative caster, which you don't want. So, and you know, I didn't think too hard about that because I was assuming that they had you know, done it for the right reasons, but you know, I don't think anything was done for the right reasons on this truck. So we're going to get this front end over here and get it put in. I have not changed the actual rotors on it or anything. We're going to put the lock and lockout hubs and everything over onto it after we get it in and get it up. So, and we'll get it all together and you know, do some checking on it, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do. Whether we're going to have to go with some style shims, maybe just make a set of shims would be better than trying to use them. I could probably get by with doing it without having to make any kind of little adapters to go between the pins. I don't want to make new pins for it because, you know, I may end up having to do some changing on it, and if I do some changing on it, then I'll have to remake more pins. So I'd rather make these little adapters. So anyway, let's get it in there and we'll go from there. Okay folks, I got the front end back up in. What I ended up doing was putting one of the shims back in it. This one is a 3 degrees. Now, I can't get a good, you know, I can't check this thing right or good until I get some weight on it and stuff. And it's still going to be pretty hard to do, but here's what else they had in it. The other two was 2 degrees each, so we took out 4 degrees. We left 3 degrees in, so they had 7 degrees on it. Okay, checking it to the best of my ability with what I've got to work with, which is not perfectly accurate, but just checking it from here to here. Okay, that's about as close as we're going to get it. Now, this is not a machine surface, so it's not going to be perfect. But, you know, I'm just trying to get a guess at it as to what it is. And the best of my ability here, just checking it like this, you know, we're at about a little under 4 degrees. And it's positive caster. And our drive shaft angle is at about 7 degrees. And, you know, that's not perfectly accurate because of the way we're sitting. We don't have it on the weight on the tires. The concrete's not level. The truck's on jack stand, so it's not level, but I just wanted to get an idea. But I think what I'm going to do, if I need to change this, we'll get it all set up and all done before I check it again, and or try to get a decent check on it. And I've got to figure out a good way of checking this because you know, there's no machine spots or no flat spots to be able to do it, so we're going to have to come up with something. And so what we're probably going to do is get it all together, figure out what we need, and I will make a shim. And I can make a shim that is the right degree that we need and still not have to make them adapters. And that way we can get by without a mess anyway. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get everything bolted together, bolted up. I've got new shock bushings for the top on the other shock. They're bad, and got to go ahead and get the drive shaft in it and all that good stuff, and go ahead and change out the rotors and put the lock and lockout hubs on it. Now these ball joints are nice and tight in this one, and so I think we're going to be fine with everything. We'll get the steering back hooked up, and hopefully we'll be able to start this thing up and at least move it. And I don't know if the clutch is going to release or not the way they got that set up, but I'm going to try to get this thing turned around where we can get the back changed out in it. So anyway, let me get back at it. Okay, everything's in except for I've got to finish up the drive shaft, and I'll show you something on that. It's got the double joint up top, but as you can see, that clip's hanging out. So that no doubt tells me we just need to go on and put U-joints in it. So this one here is tight and it does, you know, have grease fitting, so I think this will be okay. I'm not going to just replace them for the heck of it, you know. But we will go ahead and put joints in that. I may get it turned around to the rear end first, but it's not a big deal there. And everything's hooked up and done on that side. I'll show you. Okay, we officially have bolts holding our steering arm on. Everything's in and done and tight. We got everything hooked up. Got to put the cotter pins in the bolt for the tie rod ends yet. Well, I replaced the rubber up here. As you can see, I put the shock on backwards. The sticker's on the back side, but they don't bother me a bit. And those stickers were tore up anyway. But let me see. I think I've got to go find a strap for the drive shaft. The other one had bolts, and I've only got one strap that was left in it. So my son pulled the engine transfer case outside. Just got to find out where he put it, and we'll get that in there and go from there. Okay, we got the full-time hub apart. That was on the 75 or 76, 77 model axle, I'm sorry. And then we're working on getting the lock and lockout apart. And of course, things always just keep getting better. You can see, I'm not even for sure what that is. So, lost on that, and here's our nice snap ring shot. So I don't know, almost look like part of a inner bearing race or retainer or something. I don't know, I don't think it came out of our lock and lockout. I'll have to check it over again. It may have. Alright, I just wanted to show you what kind of mess we're getting into here. Okay, we got one side done. Put new inner seal and repacked the bearings. Cleaned everything up. We're good to go on it. Lock in, lockout's working good. So we will be ready to get the other side. I'm going to quit for the day. It's starting to get dark, and I've had to leave so many times to go tow that I'm surprised I got anything done. But anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and till next time, bye.